Please tell me how you're out of order. You're out of order. How do they operate, trustees? How do they operate?
There were countless interactions just like this, elevated voices and heated debates about spending and the lack of a new budget.
Mayor Tiffany Henyard was a no-show for this special meeting called by village trustees, but she was still the target of scathing public comment.
I'm not going to stop until she's behind bars.
And at some point, she is going to have to answer to some of this.
Tensions are running high between Dalton's trustees and the village mayor, and the situation is escalating. People are still buzzing about the meeting Tiffany Henyard held without the trustees, and now there's a meeting where the trustees showed up, but the mayor didn't. Mayor Tiffany Henyard has been facing heavy criticism for a while, and during a recent meeting, frustrations hit their peak. Trustees claimed she mishandled village finances, and residents are voicing their anger loud and
news between Dalton's embattled mayor and the board of trustees.
Trustees say the village is facing financial disaster, and they blame the mayor for mismanagement. She says this is all just political retribution. WGN's Eric Rung live in Dalton for us this morning. Eric.
Well, good morning. The next big development in this story could come a little later this week. That is when former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot is expected to release some of her findings in her investigation into the village's finances. For months, it's been anything but business as usual at Dalton's village meetings.
People around you that wants what's best for the people, not what's best for Tiffany.
People need, and watching as this village being ran into the ground.
The fight over the village's finances continues to be at the center of this tug-of-war between Dalton's mayor and several trustees. They accuse her of overspending and mismanaging the village's money, while she and her allies accuse them of playing political games.
This village is bleeding. If these residents knew the truth, they'd hit the roof.
This is targeted. This is harassment.
Board members last night voted to limit the use of the village credit cards, lay off a handful of workers, including placing the deputy police chief, Lewis Lacey, on administrative leave.
The trustees' primary concern is the township's finances. Dalton's budget has been shrinking quickly, and many blame Mayor Henyard. Trustees have accused her of spending money without proper authorization and shifting funds around in confusing ways. According to them, it's not just minor expenses. They claim she spent thousands of dollars without approval.
30 more money troubles in South suburban Dalton. New welcome banners recently went up in that village.
But the company that created them says it has not been paid.
When the trustees recently voted to cancel some of her upcoming events, Henyard responded by saying they were targeting her personally, not the events. This reaction highlighted her tendency to take decisions as personal attacks rather than policy matters.
At one point in this 3-hour meeting, Supervisor Henyard demanded Finance Director Robert Hunt read through more than 100 line items that many trustees wanted to get rid of. For example, thousands of dollars to Amazon,
$169.99.
thousands of dollars of cakes for community events,
102 Calumet Bakery,
and tens of thousands of dollars that were allegedly allocated for the one-day event, the Taste of Thornton Township.
We just had a couple events here in the past whatever month or so that just extraordinary amount of money was spent unnecessarily.
As for upcoming events, the trustees voted to stop a few, including House Fest and Gospel Fest. Henyard accused the trustees of acting out of spite.
And right now, you guys are operating with hatred in your hearts. You're operating out of feelings. You're not operating with things that's going on, and I don't think that's fair to us. And I don't understand why it's a problem when we got a surplus in Thornton Township thanks to Supervisor Tiffany Henyard.
Instead of addressing the issue, Henyard shifted the blame to the trustees for the village's unpaid bills. At the same time, she kept using village funds for lavish events that appeared to promote her image more than support the community.
We begin with another contentious meeting involving Tiffany Henyard.
Tonight, it involves her role as Thornton Township Supervisor. The Board of Trustees voting to cancel upcoming township events. Despite Henyard's vote in favor of Gospel Fest, House Fest, Bingo, all failed to pass. The tech-savvy event failed at first, but trustees then approved it with a limited budget. Henyard telling the board their votes were not about the community, but about her.
Because them residents love the events that we do here at Thornton Township. And prior to me, y'all have always had events. So I don't understand why it's a problem now that Tiffany Henyard is the supervisor when it wasn't a problem when Frank Zuccarelli was the supervisor.
Now, in her supervisory report, Henyard says she turned the township's financial situation around, claiming it had multi-million-dollar deficits in 2022 when she arrived. Now the township has a surplus totaling $9.7 million.
It was no surprise when tensions between Henyard and the trustees reached a breaking point. Former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot was brought in to investigate allegations of corruption against Henyard. In response, Henyard tried to deflect blame, accusing the trustees of causing the village's debt. In a particularly controversial move, she attempted to veto an FBI investigation into her actions, but the trustees quickly overruled her with a majority vote. They argued that Henyard's focus seemed more on maintaining her lavish lifestyle than serving the community. The situation worsened when Henyard fired Police Chief Louis A. Lacey, who was already facing bankruptcy fraud charges. Trustees claimed Lacey was too closely tied to Henyard and needed to be removed. Meanwhile, Lacey's lawyer argued that federal authorities were targeting him as a way to get to Henyard. Despite the controversy, Lacey continued to show up for work, frustrating board members who saw his presence as a disregard for their authority, adding even more fuel to the village's ongoing turmoil.
We were about $6 million in deficit.
But this morning, despite the vote, Lacey still reported to work after Norwood says the deputy chief claims the board had no authority to place him on leave.
That is not true. So we did a vote on it, and our vote is actually valid at the moment. So we were quite surprised when he showed up at work today. We're waiting for the advice of our attorney to figure out our necessary steps legally.
This is political retaliation.
Embattled Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard responded to that vote last night during yet another chaotic meeting amid multiple investigations, including a federal one into her spending of village.
Trustees were forced to hold discussions at the Park District after allegedly being locked out of Village Hall by Henyard's supporters. Some trustees have suggested that Henyard's behavior shows signs of self-centered tendencies, a bold claim, but one they believe is backed up by her actions. It seems Henyard is feeling the pressure as investigations close in. She's been clashing with trustees during township meetings, often engaging in heated arguments and accusing them of running a smear campaign against her. Despite the mounting evidence, instead of stepping back, Henyard appears to be escalating the conflict even further.
Happening tonight, community concerns in Thornton Township and a push to regulate what some call out-of-control spending by Township Supervisor and Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard. NBC5's Lexi Suter has more on tonight's showdown between trustees and Henyard.
Good evening. There were many tense moments in tonight's meeting. At times, Supervisor Tiffany Henyard took on her fellow trustees when it came to money and expenses, even accusing some of them of spreading lies about her.
Please tell me how you're out of order. You're out of order. How do they operate, trustees? How do they operate?
There were countless interactions just like this, elevated voices and heated debates about spending and the lack of a new budget. Several of the trustees questioned much of the township's spending, while Henyard says she's cleaned its finances up.
Y'all thought that I was young, dumb, didn't know nothing, was going to let y'all come and manipulate me. I didn't do any of that. So because I didn't do any of that, you guys started this whole smear.
This controversy has been building for some time, but tensions have recently escalated. The relationship between the mayor and the trustees has been strained for a while, yet they managed to keep their power struggle relatively quiet, at least until the latest meeting, even after the trustees had to postpone a previous one.
My next appointment will be for village administrator.
Last night, Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard appointed a new top aide to a $100,000 a year job without board consent. 34-year-old Michael A. Smith, who's been active in South suburban politics for years.
The reason for Mike is he have a wealth of great information. He's a young person and ex-politician. He knows the laws like the back of his hand.
Dalton's newly appointed village administrator, Michael A. Smith, is facing scrutiny over past allegations of sexual harassment and misconduct. Despite the trustees raising concerns about his history and the legality of his appointment, Henyard stood by her decision to hire him.
Public reporting shows Smith has been charged at least 8 times with crimes ranging from domestic battery to official misconduct. In 2012, Smith, then a young trustee in Dixmoor, resigned after pleading guilty to theft when he allegedly stole gasoline by posing as a police officer. Then in 2018, Smith was working as an assistant dean at Thornton Fractional High School when he was fired for sexual harassment of a female student, grooming a student with lascivious intent, and inappropriate aggressive behavior towards a male student. According to his termination letter, Smith was accused of contacting a 15-year-old female student on Snapchat with inappropriate comments and making her his girlfriend.
That's new at 10 tonight. Dalton's embattled mayor addressing the public and taking new action involving village officials. Tonight's regularly scheduled Board of Trustees meeting was canceled because there weren't enough trustees present. But Mayor Tiffany Henyard still showed up and appointed a new village administrator and a new village attorney. Trustee Jason House telling us those appointments are not valid and the appointees will not be paid. Now, this comes on the same day that Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul's office issued a binding opinion saying that Dalton repeatedly violated the Open Meetings Act this summer. The AG is ordering Dalton to make all future meetings convenient and open to the public, and that includes ensuring there is enough space and not closing streets or putting up parking.
In yet another instance of mismanagement, Henyard misled the trustees into approving a law that raised lawn violation fines from $75 to $500. This move underscored the board's decision to take action against her, as such a disregard for residents' well-being was sure to spark public outrage.
But with Tiffany Henyard, they raised those fines from $75 to $500 if you did not mow your lawn, and they were trying to bring in revenue for the village. But I went back in time and I looked at the actual board meeting where they voted. She tricked the trustees into voting yes for it without having anything in front of them. She had the lawyer get involved, enacted, and convinced the trustees. The trustees asked, and she pointed out, quite just blankly said, it is just for the vacant homes. This has nothing, and she said word for word, this has nothing to do with the current residents, the people that live in Dalton. Has nothing to do with the people that live at 602 West 7th Street, okay, that occupy their home. This is for the vacant homes only. She convinced the trustees. They were hesitant, but this was back before all the major controversy, and so they decided to pass it because she said it would bring in revenue and that it was only for these vacant.
One of the most serious accusations against Henyard is her alleged misuse of Dalton's finances. Reports claim she spent thousands of taxpayer dollars on personal luxuries, including lavish trips and cars for herself, her mother, and her boyfriend. Despite mounting scrutiny, Henyard has shown little sign of changing course. With trustees, residents, and investigators closing in, it seems her time as mayor may be running out. It's only a matter of time before the full scope of her actions is revealed. We'll keep you updated as this story develops. Stay tuned for more.